Ruining gaming genres is not as difficult as you might think, and you can actually ruin the genre by both positively and negatively impacting it, and many games have done it many times over. But there are few whose impact can be felt through decades. There are few games that have changed their genre so much that they are completely unrecognizable. Those games have profound impact and are remembered by many both for positive and negative reasons. But this game is just something completely different. It's completely phenomenal, and every gamer all around the world knows about this game, and most of them actually absolutely love it. But there are a few things that this game has done, both positive and negative, that has completely ruined the RPG genre and even had profound positive and negative impacts on the entire gaming industry. So much so that we feel this on new releases 12 years after this game's initial release. And this game is none other than Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. In this video we're going to be discussing positive and negative impacts of how it actually ruined the RPG genre by changing it forever completely. So let's go through positive and negative things interchangeably. Let's start with the positive one, and it is of course by creating an open world blueprint. Skyrim became the blueprint of modern RPGs. Its vast and living world set a new standard to an open world games. Players could immerse themselves in richly detailed environments, encountering diverse landscapes, cities, dungeons, and hidden secrets. The game's dynamic ecosystem, complete with wildlife, weather, and day-night cycles, added depth and realism, and people absolutely loved it. They loved to immerse themselves in this world because every single detail mattered for them, and the amount of details was insane. Just an ability to buy yourself a house in a city and kinda live in it and get involved in the city's storylines was completely amazing. The questlines over questlines all around the open world was completely mesmerizing for the players to that day and to this day, and not many were able to repeat it. Still to this day, game devs are actually trying to repeat it, and many are actually failing it, and even Bethesda themselves are kind of failing that. It was a masterpiece for this time, but it was not actually as perfect. You see, when the game came out, few people were actually screaming about the certain issues of the game, but they were so overshadowed by the praise done to this game that no one actually were giving any thought to those people. And well, weirdly enough, they were right, because there was one or other few very glaring negative issue with that, and it's that it was actually worse compared to the previous games, and it was the world building itself. Despite world feeling much more easy to understand and much easier to get into, it was kind of like a less complex compared to the previous games like Oblivion and Morrowind, and in some matters even than Daggerfall. Skyrim's world was actually the smallest of every Elder Scrolls world. It was the least diverse, story was most generic, the side quest has quite a small effect, and overall world felt not on par to the previous games. And this kind of like has created a standard that you don't need to improve everything in order to be more appealing for the broader audience. And that was negative impact on the entire gaming industry, meaning that you don't need to go forward in order to actually go forward. But there is also one more positive thing, and it was character freedom. Skyrim actually embraced the player agency. You could be a noble hero, a cunning thief, or a powerful mage, or anything in between. And the freedom to shape your character's destiny and playstyle resonated with players, making each playthrough unique. And this was loved by everyone who played this game for the first time. And this was loved by everyone who played in RPGs for the first time. They loved this, and Skyrim was good at it. It was insane and it was great. However, Skyrim by far was not the first game who did that, and by far was not even the best, or not even among the best. And even if you compare it to the previous games, it was not even close to them. And to appeal to a broader audience, Skyrim just simplified certain RPG mechanics. Skills were streamlined into a perk system, and removal of different attributes simplified character development. And many of the hardcore RPG fans missed the complexity of an earlier titles, and rightfully so. This game were moving away from an RPG into an action RPG territory, and that continued after Skyrim's release, bearing actual real RPG games more and more in favor of action RPGs. And if you ask me, this continued actually actually for more than a decade, and it was ended more or less by Divinity Original Series and more with Baldur's Gate 3 release. Because that game actually showed to the modern audiences what actual freedom meant. One more thing was done by Skyrim amazingly. Again, it was not done by Skyrim first, but it was more streamlined by Skyrim, allowing other games to tap more into that thing, and it is modding community. Skyrim's modding community is legendary. The Creation Kit allowed players to create and share their own content, from a quest and characters to entire game overhauls. The vibrant modding scene extended the game's lifespan and demonstrated the power of the player's creativity. And it was beautiful, and it is still beautiful to this day. It's very rare to see any Skyrim player who plays the game to this day to play it in vanilla. Everyone is modding at least something to play the game, to make the game more catered towards their things and what they love. And this is actually beautiful. But the need of the mods, the actual root cause of this amazing and beautiful thing, is actually terrible. And that is one thing that actually ruined entire gaming industry and made it worse. And it is technical issues. Not many of you remember the Skyrim's release, but I do. And actually Skyrim's launch was plagued with bugs and performance issues. Well, some were pretty fun and endearing, like flying mammoths and giants kicking you to space. Others were quite frustrating. And Bethesda's reputation for releasing buggy games persisted, and it affected players' experiences. But the issue was that the entire gaming industry saw this as a sign that no matter how buggy the game is, if the game is good, players will forget about that, and the outlets will still issue multiple Game of the Years for you. And that's what happened. Skyrim was winning Game of the Year awards all over the place, wiping the floor with everyone and everything. Not that it did not deserve it, but this actually showed everyone that you don't really need to release a complete game or completely polished game to actually be the first. And no other studio used this as Bethesda themselves. And you see this to this day. Fallout 4 was quite buggy and broken. Fallout 76 was absolutely not ready to be released. And even Starfield was underwhelming at best, for many at least. And after that, you see many games released in a sorry state just to release it on time and just to sell and just to get these first sale numbers. Yes, before that there were buggy releases, but after that, well, they just got exponentially more. Even Bethesda games like Oblivion and Morrowind were not the best on release, but they were also much smaller. Not many people were playing them on release, unlike Skyrim. And that of course caused the creation of the modding scene, because personally for myself, if it wasn't for unofficial patches of the game, I would not be able to complete the main quest because my main quest was bugged and I was unable to progress through it. For many of you, all those things combined does not scream ruined, but it actually does. Ruining does not mean just making it worse. In this case, ruining means destroying the older understanding of what genre was and creating a new one. And Skyrim did that. It did not just destroy the older understanding of RPGs for most of the players, it also created the new understanding. And many people did not like it, and rightfully so. Game changed everything, not just in a genre, but in entire industry. And for many people, it was too much, both good and bad. But what do you think? Did you like Skyrim? Do you still like it? Let me know in the comments down below. Oh, and if you want to watch my review of the Skyrim itself, you can watch it right here. And also you can subscribe right here. And I'm gonna see you in the next video. Take care.